find yourself sitting in your car before a shift wondering why you're feeling this way? You're not exhausted, you're not overwhelmed, you're just unsettled and you can't quite put your finger on it. You've changed jobs, you've taken annual leave, you've reduced your hours, you've tried to set better boundaries and yet still something is feeling really off. Naturally, you assume it's burnout because after all, that's what we're told. If you're tired, if you're frustrated, if you're disconnected, if you're questioning your future, the answer must be burnout. But what if burnout isn't the whole story? What if the real issue isn't that you're working too hard? What if it's that you've just never stopped to ask yourself whether or not you're still headed in the right direction that actually fits you, the direction you actually want to go? And that's what I want to talk about today. Now, before I go any further, I want to be really clear here that this video is not about leaving nursing. I'm still a nurse. I'm proud of the work nurses do. And there are nurses out there who genuinely love their careers and feel completely aligned with their work. This video is for those moments when you start feeling disconnected from your work, from your goals, and even yourself. And you can't quite work out why. Because I've noticed something. When nurses feel unhappy, the conversation almost always focuses on stress, workload, staffing shortages, shift issues, difficult patients. And don't get me wrong, those things absolutely matter. But sometimes I wonder if there's focus is on reducing stress, and what we forget to ask is more, well, the question is more uncomfortable. Is the life I'm living still aligned with what matters to me? For a long time, I thought the answer for me was simply to find a better role, a better schedule, a better team, a better manager, better workplace. And sometimes those changes can absolutely help. But what surprised me was that every time I solved one problem, another question remained. What do I actually want my life to look like? Not my job, my life. Because here's what I've realized. The things I value today are very different to the things that I valued when I first became a nurse. Back then, success looked one way. Today, it looks very different. And I don't think that's a problem. I just think I've grown. That's growth. I mean, think about the person that you were 10 years ago. Would that person have the same priorities as you today? Probably not. Maybe you're a parent like me. Maybe you've experienced loss. Maybe you've experienced burnout. Maybe you've developed new interests. Maybe you've realized there are things that you value now that you never even crossed your mind when you first started your career. And many of us continue to measure success using the goals that we set years ago, goals that belong to a completely different version of ourselves. And that's where I think a lot of the internal conflict begins. And it's not because there's anything wrong with us, but because we've changed. And it's okay to change. Sometimes it looks like you're constantly browsing like job advertisements, not because you want another job, but because you're searching for something you can't quite define. Sometimes it looks like feeling flat after achieving a goal you thought would make you happy. Sometimes it looks like wondering if there's something more. Sometimes it looks like feeling like guilty because on paper everything seems great. You have a career, you have income, stability, great home, great family, and something still feels missing and you feel greedy and it's incredibly confusing. But from the outside your life may look exactly how you imagined. Might not look exactly how you imagined it would. And the question that helped me more than any other isn't how do I stop feeling burnout, even though that was a question for a while. It's eventually turned into what is it that I actually want? A simple question. Didn't have a simple answer. But it's amazing how often we avoid asking it. We become so focused on responsibility, expectations, obligations, what everyone else wants and needs from us, and we don't ask ourselves these questions, you know? Are we on the path that still feels right? We stop asking whether the version of success we're chasing is even ours anymore. And this is important, you know? The answer isn't always career change, it isn't always leaving nursing. Sometimes the answer is changing roles, sometimes it's reducing hours, sometimes it's setting better boundaries, sometimes it's simply just recognizing that what matters to you has changed and making those small adjustments to bring your life back into alignment. Because the goal isn't necessarily to escape your career, the goal is to create a life that feels like it's gonna fit. And that doesn't mean quitting all the time. Now, if you're feeling disconnected lately, if you've been wondering why a holiday didn't fix your problems and your emotions, if you're feeling like you're questioning what's next, Maybe don't rush to label it burnout. Maybe ask yourself those really hard questions. What is it I want my life to actually look like? What matters to me most now? Am I making decisions that support that? Because sometimes clarity doesn't come from working harder. Sometimes it comes from asking better questions. And that one question might just be the first small step towards creating a life that feels way more aligned, more meaningful, and more like your own. If this resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have your priorities changed since you became a nurse? And if they have, what matters to you most now? In the next video, I'm going to share with you the exact tool that I use to help me realize what my values were and start creating goals, which leads me into the life that I really want to live. So if you don't want to miss that, press like, press subscribe. Until next time, and remember, one small step